Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Emerging Brands Podcast with Kelly Bennett. This founder today, who's on our podcast, has a really delicious new snack on the market. And I am so excited to hear her story and the behind the scenes of the brand because on one of my most recent trips to Pop Up Grocer, where I hang out a lot, I overheard the cashier and a customer talk about her product and how delicious it was and what they were pairing it with. And it was such an organic moment. And it just made my heart so happy because as founders and emerging brands, like those are the moments we're always seeking to cultivate. And when I saw that in real life, I was like, ah, I need to have the founder on the podcast. So, Keesha Ogaldez, she is the founder of Live Loud Foods. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
You're
I'm
so
so
welcome. You're so
excited to dive
welcome.
into it.
And also, too, I have to say, your packaging with like those lime green colors, I feel like is so on brand for this summer in particular. And so I just love seeing your packaging and your stories, and it always stands out. So, as a packaging nerd, I just wanted to say, like, well done. Your packaging is gorgeous.
So much getting that stamp of approval because you
Ye
never know.
No, I love it. And that brings me to my first question, something I always ask founders because I love hearing the behind the scenes. How did you create Live Loud Foods? Give us the background.
The backstory, let's see. So I'll say I'm 10 years into being a personal chef. So in that culinary world space. Prior to that, business, consulting, nonprofits, the life. I'm 44 years old, so I just kind of put that out there. And I say blessed to have lived enough life to see certain things. And so pretty much the brand, how Live Loud Foods came to be, I always say the nuts found me. With that, just kind of being a personal chef, being a chef, you might get to a certain point, you're just tired of being on your feet all the time. You're like, what is that next thing? And to be able to kind of give your gift to more people, to expand personally. And so during that time, I used to have these like pop-up, dinners, and I had this three-course wine pairing, dinner. This is right before, COVID. And then one of the dinners, I had the candy pistachios on top of it. There's one table in particular, they was picking at the salad, they were taking the pistachios out, and they asked me, "Do I have more?" And I was like, "Okay, I have some more in the back." So I gave them, some from the table. Didn't really think about it. But give it about a year, the pistachios kind of made their little appearances at different parties, and people are, "Oh, you need to bag them up." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." For me, it's like it's candied, candied nuts, or you just know kind of how much work it takes to sell something to someone. So I didn't really take it serious. Like that would be the product, that would be the next move in my career. So at one point I had a private dinner for one of the people who had the nuts previously. So I gave them 2 bags of the candy nuts, and he was raving about how great the nuts were. One of the bags got stolen from the guest. So literally was that moment, I was like, okay, I think I'm onto something, and like this might be it.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so from the mystery of the stolen bag
Stolen,
of
right, for the
candy
mystery from the stolen
pistachios.
pack. Then the business side has to, kick in. And during that time also, was doing I'll say influencer work. I don't Sometimes you don't want to call yourself an influencer, but just knowing people that are in the CPG industry, I was
Yeah,
able to meet them along the journey. And I just kind of told them like this is what I'm kind of thinking, and how should I go, about it. So seeking advice, from others. And they're like, yeah, totally, go for it, because the nut category is pretty much like untapped, and it's interested in itself. And just kind of taking about a year or so to understand how the retail market works, how wholesale, works, and just knowing that I can have a great product, but that's just the beginning.
right.
You get people to get attracted to the product. What does the company, stand for? So literally I have a nut. Now what, is that, moments like, right, even figuring out the name is, a whole thing in it, itself. I need to go back and, my piece of paper of all the other names I had instead of Live Loud.
It's one of the hardest pieces of the
And
puzzle.
and then realize
It
people
truly
pick
is.
companies to, pick a name, but with Live Loud is just basically encompasses living your authentic life. And that's for this stage of my life. And this is what the gift I want others to have.
Love it. So, what has been one of the biggest differentiators that you wanted to really hone in on when creating this product? Because, like many industries, the snack industry, nuts category, I totally see the opportunity, but just overall, where did you really want to hone in on and say like, okay, this is the type of product I want to make this stand out in the marketplace? What was that train of thought?
The train of thought definitely with the brand was definitely being a bold, strong brand. Um, and really to understand what does loud mean.
Mm,
And, as a brand strategist, and I said, as a packing, geek, it if you give the concept to different people, can get different things, back. And for me, the thing for me was like, I'm a New Yorker.
yes.
Love it or hate it. It's like we can be loud, we can be brash in our own ways.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of wanting the personality of the brand to be. So if you look on Instagram, we're kind of snarky, we're kind of funny, we do the nut jokes. So we're kind of the friend you bring along that's slightly maybe inappropriate at times, but we're the cool people and we're, friendly with any, mostly anybody. And so
Love
that's
it.
kind of, just figured, that's like I think that's kind of the, the personality we want to go with and, little, female forward, a little bit of sexiness, added, into it, but just being at that, overall versatile, I'll say that the round the way girl. But you just, like I said, being a New Yorker and kind of with the product line itself, I think the blessing and curse is being a chef because you can, for me, it's like flavors are kind of infinite and I can go, unfortunately, go so many different, ways with it. But the through line with New York is globalness. Like there's so many international flavors. So I'll say as the product line starts to expand, is kind of using that through line of different international flavors that represents New York City. So that would kind of keep me, you
That's
know,
really cool. I was curious, but that was actually my next question because I saw that you have a new SKU of Caribbean jerk,
mhm.
right? That just I saw that at Pop-Up Grocer also, and I tried it. That one I think so far is actually my favorite. It has a
Love it.
really great kick to it, and I love a bold loud flavor. And so that one I was like, "Ooh, it's really good." I finished the whole bag the other day. And yeah, it's really, really good. So is that also part of it of like representing like the loud, bold flavors of New York City and all those different intersections of culture and people?
Yes, you summed it up. I might have to use that as a,
Please do. There you go.
as a
Absolutely.
tagline. It's because, going back to the, the original story, the pistachios are the one that led,
Right.
but I could have decided maybe to throw it, to the side, but I was like, you know what, this is a part of the story.
Yeah,
It's a separate
absolutely.
flavor that was okay, so now what do I do? So it's kind of an homage to, myself to the Caribbean and playing around. It's like, oh wait, sweet and spicy is a a known flavor profile. So I was like, oh, jerk seasoning. So that's kind of where that flavor led to, and then also to make something that almost not say everybody can eat, but something that's healthier for you. So the sweeteners are the coconut syrup,
Right.
coconut sugar and maple, syrup. You may or may not care as a consumer, but it was something that I kind of wanted to subtly, put in. So the brand, while I'm not saying it's a healthy, not health forward, but health conscious.
Like
And
a
so
better for you
better for
option.
you for option. They're both vegan, vegan. So this kind of as another differentiator in the market. It could have had egg whites if I wanted to add that onto it, but decided, not to. So just making little conscious, choices. And then it's great to hear feedback of people who appreciate it. Like, oh, I can, eat this. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm
Totally.
glad. And so
So I've mentioned a few times already because I love seeing and hearing a founder story and then seeing their products IRL. It's like the coolest thing. You know, you have this idea and now people are shopping it, talking about it, putting it on their food,
I
eating
know
it as
this
a snack.
right.
That's what I did and do. What was your strategy? And you touched upon it a bit of getting some, it sounds like early testers of like, okay, this is the product, this is what I'm thinking, reaching out to founders in the space, getting their feedback. But what did that look like as far as getting it bagged into retail? If you could give us like the overview of that strategy and that piece of the
Sure.
puzzle.
Right, so it's funny how for we officially launched this past March, so it's 4 years post, I would say, pop-up grocer. So the strategy was, yes, I knew packaging had to be had to be the thing, the packaging, the
Yes.
brand for me. If I didn't hit that at a certain point, I think the whole thing would have tanked. So I would say, luckily, I knew somebody, like I said, from my, in the CPG world, like, I need help. I know I need, packaging. So that, they designed, my package. And, you go through iterations and iterations, of it until you get to that point. That's it.
Hmm.
That's kind of how we, got the loud, bold, poppy, colors that it's still subtle and sleek, but yet when you're walking down the aisle and I want you look twice. That was the effect that I wanted to get. You walking down the nut aisle, if you look at the nut aisle currently, for the most part, it's just this boring blue and it's nothing really like, eye-catching. So, the bag itself had to catch, the people's attention. Hopefully then you looking to see, what it is. So that the brand for me, social media was important too. So for me, I know what I want to see, but I'm not able to. I wouldn't have necessarily done what I wanted to do. It wouldn't came out the way I wanted to. So I asked somebody else, like, this is what the vision is. You had said in the beginning, when somebody gets your vision, it's
Right.
a beautiful thing. So reaching out to different, say influencers or people in New York City, knowing, people who shop and pop up grocery, just doing like a lot of guerrilla grunt grunt work, saying, "Hey, we're here, we're gonna be in pop up grocer, please buy us." But to go back to the point you said, getting on the shelf,
Right. That
packages,
part.
packaging, getting on the shelf is like right. It's the whole process. You got your, say you have your product in hand, you're finishing your packing. Now what? I think in New York it's a blessing to say that we have a lot of great independent stores that
Right.
kind of are looking for products like this. New emerging, founders, healthier for you. So it is taking just getting, I'll say, involved in different CPG communities. When you have like startup CPG, or just kind of seeing other products that are kind of in that similar space and see where they're selling at. Then cultivate a list of these are the stores that I want to reach, out to. You have your sales sheet, you did all your, like I said, hopefully you know something about how wholesale and retail works.
Yes.
You got to pitch. Then you got to pitch, to them. Hopefully you get a response back. Do your due diligence and follow up, and follow up again until they, for me, it's
Mm.
like till you really know. Because the cycle of every store is different. Some stores hey, you may make a call on Monday or, walk into the store and you're on the shelf maybe that Friday. Some stores, they may need to make space or wait for, whatever cycle it is, and it may take a month or two for you to get, on the shelf. And this is coming from the perspective of a person who I am the salesperson. I am the sales team. Some other people may, outsource it to another company or whatever, but I'm lean, mean, scrappy, self-funded. So that is the perspective I'm giving it, from. But I don't mind sales to a certain point and just kind of doing that doing that work and seeing what is any feedback that stores may have given you. But at this point, I'm in 21 different stores in a matter of
Wow.
4.
That's
So
incredible. That's
so
really
I don't
awesome.
give myself enough credit, but everybody's story and journey is different. And so just getting into one store, celebrate that. The first store was pop-up grocer because it also aligned when I decided to launch. So it was a great moment to kind of go through the motions. Like I would say the first physical location in New York, city, was pop-up grocer. So it kind of grounded, everything else that kind of came, subsequently, and just having a lot of great retailers that are pushing for you and also that I'm able to work with. I think that's a
Right.
huge thing, at least for me, is I want to be able to work with this core group of stores, either doing individual pop-ups, sampling, and things of that nature, because it goes back into, are people looking for your brand? Are they looking to buy whatever it is that you're selling? So if I don't think anybody really wakes up saying, I'm gonna go to the store and buy some candy nuts. I don't know if you do that, God bless you, but
Right. Right.
something kind of like, "Oh, I've seen this package somewhere. I've heard this name, somewhere." So that whole brand
I've seen
awareness.
it on someone's social, I've seen someone talk about it, like, that's when I say creating the buzz for yourself in those beginning early years of, like, how can you cultivate that yourself, so then when you go into a retailer, you're going in with some momentum, and it sounds
Yes.
exactly like you got your first retailer on the board, which is a great one because you know a lot of people are gonna take photos, videos, it's one of those spaces that people genuinely go to shop, but also create content. So it
Mhm.
totally makes sense to get some new eyeballs, but it also sounds like you really leverage that to then continue that momentum to getting into other retailers.
Yes, indeed, and that's kind of just keeps snowballing because once you get into a store, it's great to get in, and they always say you have to get off the shelf. So
Right.
through that, going through that cycle, and nobody wants to get discontinued, from from a store, just kind of to really understand what moves the dial for your product and your brand. Like for me with pop-up grocer, I stop by just to say hello to the cashiers. I mean, sometimes at the end of the day, they're your salespeople, kind of.
They're your
It's like
best salespeople.
they're not passionate about it, might have a sample in my hand, like, "If you haven't tried it yet, here, that's it, hi, bye, this is me, and I'm out the door." It and kind of can take that same thing for other stores, as well, because if they're the people who are sitting there and customers are coming, "Oh, so anything new, anything you recommend? Oh, yeah, I know you like this. Try this
Yep,
product, out as well," and also making other friends in the industry as well, because
absolutely.
people who kind of have your similar brand mission and feel aesthetics, you can take their product along and put it on your social media. So, there's different ways to collaborate without being too, in your face, or if you're in the same store with each other. It, it's like it was cool that, right, you may have another founder. Oh, I saw you on the shelf. Here's a picture, of it. So you don't yourself don't have to do all the work. It's great to have other people looking out, for you.
I absolutely agree. And that brings me to my next question of what piece of advice would you share with a soon to be founder, emerging founder? Maybe they're in those stages of right before pitching to retailers or they're in the formulation stage, R&D. What would you recommend to them maybe being aware of or taking a step towards something? I would love to hear now your perspective if you were to roll back the tape a little bit.
So roll back the tape, I would definitely keep with the make your product good enough, but also know the numbers, your financial numbers when it goes to your product. I mean, you can sit here and tweak and tinker all day and keep adding things to your product, but if it's not profitable or potentially to be profitable, what's the point?
Right.
I know for me entering the market, I know my wholesale price is a tad higher, than others who are further, ahead of me. So the stores I know that are messing with me right now, they understand what I'm, going through. But once you start to scale, the numbers will kind of, edge out, somewhere. So I would say for that beginning founders to really hone in on your numbers, know your competition. You can look into like FAIR is kind of transparent.
Oh,
So
that's
see,
a great one.
so you can see more or less where your potential products may compete against it. Even though we try to say no, there's no competition. At the end of the day, it is. Because
Totally.
I go to a store, a retailer, and they already have 5 different types of nuts. How can I pitch to them and say, "You need to take my brand?" Either they might have to take 1 SKU or, whatever it is, or if they're paying a cheaper price for the other one. So it's kind of doing that that's for you to do that due diligence to know what really make your product stand out against the others.
I love that piece of advice that you shared about looking on fair. I think that's a really great
Mm,
tangible takeaway that any founder can do. And also speaking to the fact that there is always going to be competition. And
mhm,
I am of the mindset that competition is actually a good thing. It's
right,
showing that people want a similar product, there's demand for it. Those other brands are actually spending their money driving demand for this particular niche in the category, and you could leverage it to show proof of concept.
yes.
So competition is actually a good thing, and it also makes you really hone in on what you do the best, right? And
Yes,
it like anything else, even service providers or product-based businesses, I always say, like, hone in on what you do best and really niche down. And so I love that you just touched upon that because I think so many founders get really lost in their own sauce, so to speak, of like their own world and their own bubble, and they don't really look around. But it's good to get super creative and have your own vibe of what you're building, but you also have to look around the room to know where you lay within that positioning of that
mhm.
category. So, that was a great solid piece of advice. Thank you.
Yes, it's definitely because right, so think a lot of things could be so intangible or just kind of more in theory and concept, and also knowing that it is a business as well. And there's so many moving pieces. There's so many moving pieces in this being a CPG founder. You
Right,
know, and how do you are you expected to know every single thing and how to to grow it, but to I would say another I would say not piece of advice, but just kind of knowing where do you see yourself and also your company.
right,
'Cause that will start to kind of map out where you might put your products in. And there's so many ways to, grow or so many may not be retail, you may go to, food service. So to kind of
right.
to to
For
evaluate
you, where do you see, Live Loud Foods?
and definitely in hotels and that kind of like semi
Ooh,
so that, like the bar snack, I was gonna say like it's a as the kind of, like I said, it evolves exactly the charcuterie platters, like the semi-party girl, but we're in the
love it.
office, pantry. So that's where, I definitely see it. It's like a nice little snack, that little nosh that never knew you needed.
Great. I love it. Well, I could talk to you for hours. I truly
Right.
appreciate you coming on the podcast. You shared so much insight. And also, I love your perspective on how you're building and seeing the progress already in such a short amount of time. Congratulations, 21 retailers. Incredible work. Um, Last but not least, probably the most important question is where can we shop your product?
Absolutely. Well, if you go online to www.liveloudfoods.com, we do have a store locator, but for the most part, the bulk of our products can be found in the New York City, area. We're at Goodsmart. We had a couple of great stores in Brooklyn, as well at the Wonder Mart. You feel like you want to do like a name drop of everybody, but I think everybody who's on that store locator list is the owners. Just they have the through line of they're really here for small businesses.
Incredible, and you mentioned the Good Smart, and I had Rachel on the podcast too, and she really is so passionate and so supportive, so I'm really glad that, your product is there too.
Yeah, so they're great. Like I said, the advice is to find people who are definitely rooting, for you, but make sure you do the work as well.
Yes, both. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was such an incredible podcast episode. Thank you everyone for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.